So the research on lying is that parents are actually terrible at knowing when their kids are lying, but they think they are. Today, I want to talk about 3 simple ways that you can help your kids and teens lie less often, whether you know they're lying or not. I'm Jamie Knapp, and welcome to the channel where quick insights and tips make raising kids in the gospel so much easier and a lot more fun. I think one of my greatest fears as a parent is accusing my kids of lying when they're really not, because I don't like to be accused of lying. That's the worst thing ever. And I don't want to make my kids think I think they're liars. But I also know they lie sometimes. So I want to share today some things that can help and some things that I'm working on at my house that can help kids lie less often. But before we can do that, it's so important to understand the developmental stages of lying. I remember when my oldest child was young, it was before she even went to school. She had a super active imagination and she would tell us all sorts of things, and I could tell she didn't think she was lying, but it was things like, "Mom, there's a lion in the house. I just saw it." And she would tell people things that were crazy. She was at the developmental stage of imagination. Lying requires a child to be able to imagine. It requires them to recognize that what you see and what they see is different. And that, I guess, is where the line is. If they're between 5 and 10, then their lies may just be imagination. They may just be experimenting with how things work. Once they start going into the pre-teenage years, they can consciously recognize, hey, my parents don't know what I know, and I can lie. Like, I figured out this agency thing that I've got, and sometimes it gets me out of trouble. As parents, we have to take away the pressure to lie. Adults lie when they think that the lie is less bad than what they're covering up, right? Sometimes they think the consequences of telling the truth would be worse than the consequences of lying. And that's when we lie. Does this dress make me look fat? We weigh that and decide what would be best. Well, your kids do the same thing. In any given situation, they have to weigh, should I tell the truth that, yes, I broke that lamp? Or should I take my chances with lying and maybe get out of trouble? Let's talk about those 3 simple ways to end that cycle and help your kids be more honest. The first way that you can help take the pressure away to lie is to praise honesty. I'm going to be honest, this one's hard for me because in the moment when the lamp breaks, and yes, this is a personal experience, when the lamp breaks, after you've told the kids not to play ball in the house, then it's really difficult to throttle your emotion because you have all of this anger or upset or worry arising in you. And it's really easy to say, who broke the lamp? In that moment, when that emotion rises and we send out that accusation that says, you broke the lamp or who broke the lamp, our kids have all of this emotion flying against them. And in an act of self-preservation, whether they want to lie or not, they probably will. Even as adults, when someone accuses us of doing something, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your boss, our initial reaction is not to say, you're right, I did that and I'm going to do better next time. Our initial response is to give an excuse of why it's not our fault, which is kind of an adult form of lying, right? And so our kids feel these same emotions. So one thing you can do is to praise honesty. If your kids do tell you the truth, first of all, you can help them and say, hey, I'm not going to be angry. I just want to know what really happened here. If they choose to tell you the truth, then you can say, thank you so much for having the courage to be honest. I really appreciate knowing that I can trust you. Step number 2 is to guide them to fix it without shaming. Now, as part of your praising the honesty, you also want to show them that life isn't about not messing up. It's about when we mess up, we repent and we fix it. And so when they make a mistake, instead of lying and saying I didn't do it, it takes courage and maturity to say, yes, I did it, and how can we fix it? So when something does happen, when the lamp breaks, can we say, All right. Thank you for being honest with me. How do you think we can fix this? And involve them in the process of coming up with ideas to fix it and make it better. And once it does, praising their efforts. Thank you so much for making that right. It goes the same with a relationship. If they hit their sister saying, wow, your sister looks really sad, how do you think you could fix that? Focusing on fixing and making things better instead of shaming and punishment can completely change the dynamics in your home. And then instead of being afraid to tell the truth, your kids will recognize that when they do, you're going to invite them to fix it. You'll invite them to own up and be responsible, but not shame. Now, I'm not saying there aren't ever consequences. Sometimes consequences need to happen, but sometimes they don't in the way we give them out. Sometimes grounding a child is not going to fix anything. They're going to sit in a room and think about how you're unfair as a parent. But instead, if you say, wow, we have a situation here, what are you going to do to fix it? And you help them along the journey and help them fix it, then they become the kind of person that is responsible for their own life, who tries to make things better. And that's the kind of human we really want to be raising, right? Step number 3 is to help them hear and follow the Spirit. Now, let's be real here. You aren't always going to be there. You're not always going to see all the things your kids need to fix or all the situations where they might be tempted to lie, but the Spirit will. And one of the most powerful things you can do as a parent is help your kids learn to hear and follow the Spirit. Because when they do that, the Spirit can be there in all the times you can't. Not all kids hear the Spirit in the same way. Yes, we read that there's a burning in your bosom, which frankly is really abstract for a child to understand, and not always the first way they feel the Spirit. Depending on your child's personality and how they work, they will feel the Spirit in a different way. So make sure you're helping them learn to feel and listen to the Spirit in the way they do best, so that they can develop that ability and be more likely to be guided by the Spirit in the future. Now, if you want to learn more ways to do that, I actually have a free video that walks you through all the different ways that kids hear the Spirit so that you can know which way your child hears it and the things you can do to help them hear it more. I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out.